My name's Hannah. I previously worked as a legal recruiter in Dubai, and now I work as a CV writer and job search coach, helping people from all different professions, including lawyers, land their next role. In this video today, I'm going to cover all the types of legal positions available in Dubai, as well as what skills, experience and qualifications you need to be considered for those roles. Before we dive into that, do click on the links in the description below to find out more about how I can help with your job search. I offer CV writing, job search strategy and interview practice, and I've also created a Dubai legal CV template, which is a fantastic resource if you're quickly wanting to bring your CV in line with standards in Dubai. So, what types of legal roles are available in Dubai? Dubai is a fantastic place for lawyers. There are so many opportunities, and I want to start with talking about private practice roles. So there are lots of law firms in Dubai. It effectively acts as a hub for the Middle East, with many of the largest legal deals in the Middle East handled from Dubai law firms. You'll find most of the UK Magic Circle law firms, such as Allen & Overy, Clifford Chance and Freshfields, with offices in Dubai, and many other UK Tier 1 and Silver Circle firms. There are also some US international law firms, although there are fewer of these, but firms like Latham & Watkins, Gibson Dunn, Jones Day all have a presence in the UAE. Some of the US firms in particular do prefer to have their offices in Abu Dhabi, as a lot of the US law firms are working mostly with oil and gas clients, and a lot of that work is done out of Abu Dhabi. But generally speaking, most law firms are in Dubai, and these law firms are handling international and cross-border matters for a huge range of clients. So to be considered for roles working at these top international law firms, mostly speaking, you will need to be UK qualified. Most of the law in Dubai and the Middle East is similar to UK law or based on the UK law system. And as I mentioned, most of the international law firms are UK headquartered. So a UK legal qualification is the most desired. Australian qualified lawyers can also do well in Dubai, as their system is very similar. And US qualified lawyers will also find their skills in demand at predominantly the US law firms. But whether you're applying to the UK or US law firms, they're typically looking for someone with experience in a similar type of firm, and most roles will be advertised for a particular practice area. If they're hiring for a corporate lawyer, you will need to have demonstrated a strong history working specifically on corporate law. For example, if they're looking for a banking and finance lawyer, you will need to predominantly be a banking and finance lawyer. And most practice areas are handled in Dubai, with the exception being private client or more local matters. So if you're a lawyer who's working for maybe a high street firm, you're working more with individual clients or much smaller local companies, you will find it very difficult to move to Dubai. Most of these more local matters or private client matters are handled in local law firms and under Sharia law. So generally speaking, if you're working more in that type of area of law, you will need to be working in Arabic, and it's very difficult to move from another international country to Dubai if that's your level of experience. You really need to have that top tier international legal experience in order to land a role in an international firm in Dubai. One of the other categories of law firms which is very prevalent is regional law firms. So there are firms like Al-Tamimi and Hadef & Co that were established in the Middle East and have offices across the Middle East, with their largest offices in Dubai. These law firms do handle a lot of international matters and work with some big clients, but they also work on more local matters as well. And so they do tend to hire from a greater pool of candidates. For example, if they were hiring an IP lawyer, they might consider an Indian qualified lawyer or South African qualified lawyer or somebody from another legal jurisdiction, as long as they've got extensive experience in that practice area. So if you're not UK or US qualified from a top tier firm, but you're looking to move within private practice, these types of regional firms can be a very good target where they do have wider hiring criteria, but you do need to have that specific practice area experience that you are applying for. These types of firms do also hire more local lawyers and Arabic-speaking lawyers that will handle more of the local matters, so that if you are somebody who is a Middle Eastern qualified lawyer, they can be fantastic targets for you. And just to say, the kind of UK and US international firms that I mentioned previously do also hire Arabic-speaking lawyers, but generally they will be looking for Arabic-speaking lawyers who have a UK or US legal qualification. If you are locally qualified, then the more regional firms tend to be a better option for you. There are also a number of boutique law firms in Dubai who are generally founded by an Emirati national, and they might handle kind of local court litigation or private client work, and generally speaking, they hire Emirati lawyers. So Dubai is quite unique in that there's essentially two legal systems in operation. You've got all of the international work, which is under something similar to the UK legal system, and then you have the local courts, which operate under Sharia law and the local laws. And if you do want to have rights of audience in the local courts, you do need to be an Emirati national. So for instance, a UK qualified barrister wouldn't be able to represent a client in the local courts, and generally, criminal law and those types of matters are only available for the local Emirati lawyers. Now, the other type of opportunities which are available in Dubai are in-house roles. And again, these fall into a couple of different categories. So the first category is local companies. So there are lots of Middle Eastern companies that have got their head offices in Dubai or the UAE. So I'm thinking about some of the sovereign wealth funds, you've got the oil and gas companies, you've got other big kind of local types of organisations such as banks, and they will have a large legal team that's potentially based in Dubai. And for these roles, you could be working on all sorts of different matters. So you might be a specialist banking and finance lawyer, oil and gas lawyer, who can stay in your special area and continue doing that work in the head office. And these types of opportunities offer a lot of room for career growth and progression. And generally speaking, they are looking for people with that specific area of expertise. So if it's a bank, they will be looking generally for a banking lawyer for that role, either coming from private practice or perhaps coming from another bank. If they're a media company, a telecoms company, they might be looking for someone specifically with experience in telecoms and media law. But they do tend to be a bit more flexible in terms of where you've qualified from, as long as you've got that specific area of expertise that they are looking for. These roles often do require Arabic skills as well. I find with in-house companies, especially where you're dealing with senior management who might be local or Arabic speaking, Arabic is often required for in-house roles. Not always, but it's more required than it is on the private practice side. So it can take a little bit longer or be a bit more difficult to land an in-house role rather than a private practice role. What's more, there are a lot of private practice lawyers in Dubai who are perhaps looking to move in-house, who've got that relevant area of expertise. So these types of positions, when they do become available, are very competitive, and quite often they will look to hire somebody who's already on the ground in Dubai, who can easily move into the role rather than hiring from outside the region. However, that's not to say it's impossible. Sometimes, if they're looking for a very specific skill set, they will hire from outside of the local region. There are also a number of big international companies with a presence in Dubai. And generally what you find is the legal team act more as a kind of satellite or just kind of local legal team reporting into wherever the head office is. So there might be a general counsel, head of legal sat in London, and they might have a couple of lawyers that are operating in the Dubai office. So, you know, you've got kind of the big kind of food and beverage companies, for example, the big kind of FMCG companies. They might have 2 or 3 lawyers based in Dubai working on all the kind of local matters and then reporting into somebody somewhere else. So for these types of roles, generally speaking, the lawyers will be working on a kind of wide range of corporate and commercial matters. So usually they hire people either from a kind of corporate law background or an in-house generalist background where they're working on a range of corporate commercial matters, commercial contracts. There is often a preference for UK or US qualified lawyers, and it can depend on where the company is headquartered in terms of other kind of jurisdictions that they would consider or other language skills that might be required. So the important thing when you see these in-house roles is to read the job description carefully, see what the specific requirements are before deciding on whether to apply. Again, they're very competitive, and I would say with all legal roles in Dubai, you know, when you read the job description, read the requirements, they are generally expecting you to meet all, if not most, of the requirements listed in the role. So if you're not meeting those, then it's not necessarily worth your time applying. I hope you found that helpful. As I said, Dubai can be a fantastic place for a legal career. There are so many opportunities available, but not all types of legal experience do translate to the Dubai market. So do check carefully before you waste lots of time applying for roles if you're not fitting into one of those categories. As I said, I've got more resources linked below, so do check out the description for more resources and help if you need it, and I wish you all the best with your legal career.